Turner here again. So in the last lesson we looked at, I talked about how to practice ways to practice scales in intervals. So rather than, to G major, for example, rather than just this, I gave you examples of all the different ways to practice them. So thirds, fourths, fifths, sixths, sevenths, arpeggios, and triads. So these kind of things, etc. Fourths, six, whatever it may be. So yeah, that was what that lesson was about, was the importance of practicing those and how they can open up the fretboard for you to stop sounding and start sounding a bit more inventive, a bit more creative, make your lines a bit more interesting, a bit more harmonically interesting. So one of the things I get asked quite often is how can I make my diatonic improvisation more interesting? So just be clear quickly, when I mean diatonic, I mean chords that all come from one key. So this example is going to be in G. So I've just picked a 1, 6, 2, 5 progression. So I've got G major 7, E minor 9 in this case, A minor 7, A minor 11, and D7. So a very typical chord progression, and all diatonic, so they all belong in the same key. So how can we make this more interesting without going down the whole jazz route, if you like, and looking at playing outside or outlining the 5 chord and all those kind of things, just purely staying diatonically. So diatonically for us is going to be G major in this case. So this scale shape and all the relevant modes that go with it. It's still G major, so if someone tells you they're playing F sharp Locrian over it, well, good for them, but it's still essentially a G major. So what you should do actually to begin with, before we get any more into this, is you should be pretty comfortable with all 7 shapes across the fretboard. So one other thing you could practice just briefly is starting from G major and then playing all the shapes. So up 1, down the next, until you end up back at the starting point again. So that's all G major. Another really good thing to practice is the scale on just one string. So if it's at the high E string, start on G, and I get G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. And you should be able to do that on any string, so that will help you move this way as well as that trusted, tried and tested way. Okay, so on to the interval stuff. So this is really important to be able to move across the fretboard like this, because even though I've talked about practicing in intervals, essentially though, if you just did that as an intervallic run, it's just another way of doing this, of running up a scale, albeit for my ears a far more interesting way, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're being that creative with it. You're just taking an exercise, what was predominantly an exercise, and running up it. So we want to try and play now with wider leaps, so across the fretboard in wider leaps rather than but not only that, but still incorporating your normal playing if you like, but just trying to think, how can I leap a little bit further? So if you're here, rather than maybe going I don't know, got me on the hop now, you might do something slightly longer line admittedly, but you're kind of moving and it's going somewhere, and the interval's a little bit wider, 6 and stuff, whatever in that one, so it's just creating a little bit more interest. So yeah, it's trying to visualize your fretboard in one big chunk. There's certain amazing players out there that talk about this, Alan Holdsworth springs to mind. Just visualize the whole fretboard in as one, so just seeing all of G major across the fretboard. So rather than shape 1, shape 2, just G major, knowing my lowest starting point would be this, and I can travel up wherever from that point. So we're into A there, whatever it may be. So you can visualize the whole thing, and this will help you create more interesting lines, because you get a wider range of dynamics, wider range in tonality, and the bigger, like I talked about for harmonic depth, because we're going to bigger leaps. So what I'm going to do is I've just done a loop of that progression I talked about, 1, 6, 2, 5 progression there. I'll just play some stuff over the top of it, and then if you follow the link which takes you to a page on my website, the extras page. There's some tab there. It's not tabbed the solo that I play here because I'm just improvising now, but I've written out, I don't know, 6 or 7 I think, intervallic licks, so that travel across to the fretboard. So, and I think they're kind of arranged in the 3rds, 4ths, 5ths, 6ths, and so on, just to give you some ideas of using these interval ideas in a musical way. Okay, so let's have a little play and see what comes out. One duff note in there, sorry about that. But there you go, the true idea of improvising. So yeah, just playing around with a few different ideas in there. Some worked, some didn't, but that's the beauty about it. Just trying to visualize it, like I said, in the bigger leaps, using great harmonic depth, so wider intervals essentially, and just trying to be creative with it. So yeah, hopefully that helps. So keep practicing scales in intervals, 3rds, 4ths, 5ths, 6ths, 7ths, etc, 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 and then try and apply it as always in a musical way. So check out the link to the website where you'll find the tab. Check out the website in general because you'll find lots of cool stuff on there hopefully, and subscribe to this channel, and we'll be putting up more lessons in the future. Hope you found it helpful. Thanks.